This is the Patriots Catch-22 podcast with Evan Lazar and Alex Barth.
I'm Evan Lazar. Evan Lazar.
Hello, everybody.
Nailed it. Joined as always by our Barth. That's a fit. That's a match. No risk it, no biscuit.
22.
Here is Evan Lazar and Alex Barth.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into a special pre-taped edition of Catch-22. If you're wondering why Alex and I are wearing the same exact clothes that we were wearing last week, it's because we pre-taped this show, so we are not live. This is us coming to you about a week before I'm about to tie the knot, so I'm going to be off getting married, which is why I am not going to be here for a live show in our typical spot. But we didn't want to leave you guys completely hanging. We wanted to give you some Patriots content while I'm on vacation on our honeymoon. But Alex, we wanted to do this training camp heavy because when I come back,
it's our last show before
train
camp.
Is going to be rolling.
Crazy to think about.
Yeah, I can't believe summer is already over. We're going to spend July 4th on the beach, and then I'm getting married, and then our honeymoon, and then training camp is right there. So we're 3 weeks away as we tape this from training camp. So before I should say, we also asked for a bunch of mailbag questions from you guys on the X machine, and I really appreciate it. We got over 30 responses to that tweet that I just tweeted out this morning. So we got a ton of responses. We're going to go. We are terrible at rapid fire, but we're going to rapid fire through these responses.
There's got to be a couple
here.
repeats in there.
There are, and I'll try to get through all of them as I possibly can because we really do appreciate all of these questions from you guys. So that's the show today. We're going to start with a big picture thought from each of us on training camp, and then we're going to get into your mailbag questions. But let's start there, Barth. What's on your mind about training camp, kind of big picture that you're looking forward to?
I mean, I think the two big things, and we just talked about this in the show we finished wrapping up. I'm going to put the offensive line to the side because, yes, we're going to be interested to see how Will Campbell looks. We're going to be interested to see the battle left guard. That doesn't really gear up until the preseason. So, like, just training camp, right? The two things. One, Drake Maye, obviously. What does the year two leap look like? Does he look more confident? Does he look more comfortable? How's he picking up the new offensive system? Does he pick up when he left off in the spring? And is he taking care of the football? Just everything we've talked about Drake Maye this offseason, all that he had an encouraging rookie year, but everything that comes after that but is what we're looking at. The second thing, defense schematically. We have a general idea of what this is going to look like, right, under Mike Vrabel, just based on his time in Tennessee, but there still are a few loose odds and ends. How are they going to use Kyle Duggar and Jabril Peppers after Duggar missed the spring due to an injury? Does Anthony Jennings fit in? Where does he fit in? What are they going to do about the linebackers? Who's primarily playing next to Robert Spillane? There's just still how much are they going to use that big slot? There's just still a few scheme questions schematically for this defense that I don't think will get answered 100% because obviously they're not going to show everything before they get into the regular season. But I think we'll get some big picture answers to that.
Yeah, there's a lot of really good stuff there. I would say that defensively, just looking at that for a second, how they defend the slot and how they defend tight ends is something that I'm not entirely, I don't feel like I have a great grasp quite yet of how they're going to do that, because in a Belichick style defense, it was very obvious. They like to have the Jonathan Jones, Marcus Jones type of true nickel corner in the slot that could play man to man against shifty receivers.
Yeah.
That was typically their slot. And then they had the hybrids playing against the tight ends, the Chungs, the Duggars, those types of players. How they decide to do that is a little bit of an unknown under Vrabel. In Tennessee, they did it a little bit differently. They did also have guys towards the end, especially with like a player like Amani Hooker, who was a little bit more in that mold of like a Chung.
Yeah.
But it wasn't always the same. You mentioned the big slot. When you have a corner, and I really like Marcus Jones as a player, but when you have Marcus Jones, who's 5'9", right, that's a very big difference between the big slot and Marcus Jones. So how do they kind of find that happy median there? Your Drake Maye point is really good as well. I want to go even further up for a second. This is a little Felger and Maz for you. True bird's eye view on it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of talk about Drake Maye, his year two leap, what he can do individually, performance in the clutch, cutting down on turnovers, carrying over the good things that he did from his rookie season. My question when we go into training camp, because I don't know if we're truly going to answer, has Drake Maye made the leap? until we get into the regular
No, but we
season.
there will be early indications.
There'll be early indications, and I promise you we will break down every little early
Yes.
indication one way or another. But big picture, my thought is, have the Patriots done enough to support Drake Maye? Do the Patriots have enough of an infrastructure around Drake Maye that he can truly flourish? Because I don't think we're in a world anymore where it's enough to just expect, especially a second-year quarterback, to just pull the truck all by himself. Like, I just don't think you can really ask him for that. Last year, even though he had the flashes, even though we came out of his rookie season feeling really good about his upward trajectory, there was clearly a failure organizationally around him. The coaching, the infrastructure personnel-wise, have they built up the offensive line enough? Do they have enough weapons? Is Mike Vrabel and Josh McDaniels this massive coaching upgrade that we think it is on paper? Defensively, can they get back to the level that they were 21, 22, 23, where he doesn't have to score 30 a game to win that, win all the time? Have they done enough to help Drake Maye? Because I'm of the belief, because I'm a Drake Maye guy.
Yeah.
I'm the belief that if everything around Drake Maye is at a level of a standard of just competent to above, I think Drake Maye is gonna be a franchise quarterback. I think Drake Maye is gonna do the rest. But you can't expect Drake Maye in the second season in the NFL to take a team that is undermanned and turn them into a good football team.
Yeah.
All on his own. So in your mind, have they done enough on paper? And now we have to go from paper to actually performance to really set him up to succeed in year two. Because it's as much on them as it is on him.
To set him up, I think for year two, they still need to do more long term. The answer is maybe. Like, on paper, they did, but it hinges on Will Campbell and hinges on Stephon Diggs. And you're talking about a rookie, and you're talking about a 30-year-old guy coming off a torn ACL. So that's, if those guys both hit, yeah, I think Maye's in a really good spot. If neither of those guys can play at a starter level, you're not quite back to where you were last year, but you're definitely not in a great place.
I just feel as though there's been a lot of talk about this, about Drake, about him taking the year two leap, about him individually succeeding. Yeah. And him succeeding, maybe the only other thing I hear frequently about that is Josh McDaniels, right? Josh McDaniels' role in Drake succeeding. But to me, making a quarterback work is an organizational thing.
Yes.
It's a top-down organizational thing. Are you doing all of the right things to point the bus in the direction of making your quarterback succeed? It's not just enough for Drake Maye to be good on his own in a vacuum. It's not good enough for him to have a good play caller in a vacuum. He needs to have the talent around him and the support around him. And that, to me, is a question mark, but it's also not totally out of the realm that they did enough. But I just have to see it. We have to see it now. Some of these win totals we hear, 10, 11, 12 wins. If they're really going to reach that, it's not going to just be Drake Maye. It's going to be all of it. All of it's going to be better. The defense is going to be better. The offensive line is going to be better. The receivers are going to be better. The situational play and coaching is going to be better. All your stuff, end of half, end of game, how they handle clock and all that kind of stuff will be better. So I put as much of it on the organization, on Elliott Wolf, on Vrabel, on McDaniels, on the players around Drake Maye as I do on Drake Maye. So I'm curious to see where they're at with that. So those are our big picture thoughts. Let's get to your questions here. Let's start here with Andrew. He's at Nest PGS. I'm sure a lot of you people follow him out there. Yeah. He said, aside from maybe a pass rusher and a tight end, what position do you have in the back of your mind as a sneaky need early in the draft next year?
Pass rusher and tight end. I mean, wide receiver, I guess, isn't sneaky, right?
I think that's the elephant in the room.
Right. I'll go back to old reliable, deep safety, real free safety.
I like that.
Real free safety. I'm going to stay on that one until they get that guy.
I'm going to go linebacker, off-ball linebacker. I really like Robert Spillane. I think they're higher on guys like Jack Gibbons and Christian Ellis and Tavai potentially as well as maybe some of the fans are, some of the outside observers are. But they set themselves up nicely. Where Drake Maye is obviously the 24 draft, the 25 draft, you go left tackle, wide receiver, like you go premium position at the top of both of these drafts. So in theory, the third draft here with Elliott Wolf should be able to be some of these other things, right? Free safety, off-ball linebacker, guard, like positions that aren't quite as valuable as left tackle, quarterback, wide receiver. But if you have to keep repeating that cycle of drafting receivers and left tackles, and you've done something wrong in the previous drafts. So in order to project and hope that they're building someplace of success, they're going in that direction of now they can hit on an off-ball linebacker. Now they can hit on free safety. Now they can hit on tight end. Like, these are not necessarily those types of positions. That one Boston fan, he asks, will we finally beat the Dolphins this season after all their moves? Can't remember the last time we beat them. So they beat the Dolphins at the end of 2022. We talked about this on last week's show. It was a Scoop Huntley, Skylar Thompson, Scoot Huntley game. It wasn't Scoop.
Or Snoop. It's Snoop, right? Snoop Huntley, I think, yeah.
Snoop Huntley game. Not a Tua game, but the Dolphins have beaten the Patriots 8 out of the last 9 meetings, and we know that Tua has their number. Do they finally beat the Tua Dolphins this year?
I don't know that Tua has their number so much as the defense did. Like, the Dolphins haven't scored a ton of points in a lot of these games. They've scored timely touchdowns. You go back to the opener
Except
in Miami.
for one last year.
But
that
like,
was bad.
I remember crunching the numbers before the first game last year, so maybe last year changed it, but the Dolphins were scoring like below average against the Patriots, but the Patriots offense was just non-existent against the Dolphins. And obviously some of that goes back to Brian Flores, who's a great defensive coach. But we talked about this in the last show. The Dolphins roster is not good.
Right.
And the Patriots might have a better roster on paper. You also have the benefit of you're playing Miami here or there early, here late, both of which should be advantageous to the Patriots. It is set up for them to at least split with Miami this year.
The Miami game in week 2 in Miami scares me. Always will. A, that's just a house of horrors for the Patriots.
Yeah.
B, it's terrible weather to hit Miami. It's going to be 100 degrees. It's going to be Miami hot down there. And one of the things I give the Dolphins a lot of credit for this. I don't give the Dolphins credit often. But them putting the road team in the sun when the home team sideline has the shade, very, very smart. So it's hot as balls down there.
It's some
You're
old
in the sun,
school, like Red Auerbach
stuff. Like, we're going to shut the AC off and turn the hot water off in the road team locker room. It's good stuff. The Dolphins, week 2 of the season, Tua's probably going to play. By the end of the season, I don't know if Tua's going to be the quarterback, right? Week 2, I feel pretty good about Tua being the quarterback for the Dolphins. So that game worries me a little bit. But the one here at the end of the season, you would like to think the Patriots, that's going to be where they're going to find their stride, and they're going to be a second-half team this year. We don't know what's going to happen with Miami. That could go upside down, and then Tua might not be the quarterback so if he's hurt. So I like them winning the game here later on in the year. This is from Jeremiah. Jeremiah Vasquez. He asked, in y'all's opinion, what does a successful rookie season look like for Will Campbell?
I mean, baseline, he stays at left tackle, obviously. Said he doesn't look like overworked. I don't know.
Starting caliber left tackle.
Yeah, it's tough to put a number on that. I don't need him to be a Pro Bowler.
I don't think there needs to be a number. I think starting caliber left tackle, looks the part.
You know what a successful season is? Rookie season is for Will Campbell? We're not talking about Will Campbell.
Good.
That's a success. The less we say his name this year, the better. If we get to the end of the year and we're like, yeah, Will Campbell was pretty good. We didn't really have to talk about him much. Like, that would be great. I would love to not have to talk about Will Campbell this year. No offense to Will Campbell, but like,
if he's a stud, I'm going to talk about him.
That's true. This show will talk about him. I guess when I say we'll talk about him. The collective fans.
Did you see that poll? Whew.
A successful season is 98.5 is not talking about Will Campbell.
There you go. Good way to put it. I would also, just the one number that I would like to see for Will Campbell be respectable is penalties. He did have some issues at LSU with false starts.
So that was really just last year. It wasn't a problem his first 2 years. So he did have some problems last year.
It's a small C concern, right? It's not a big C concern. But I don't know if I have a number in mind for sacks, because that's so subjective. It depends on the matchup. It depends on the game script, all that kind of stuff. It's hard to say. But in terms of penalties, that's a controllable. Like, he can control that.
They have a gauntlet of pass rushers out the gate. It's going to be Max Crosby,
who typically
Watt,
does right
maybe.
Those two guys typically line up over the right side, but maybe because of rookies on the left side.
Any coach worth a damn is going to hunt them.
Well, I don't know if they're. Anyways,
That's true. Well, no, Pete Carroll. I'll give Pete Carroll. No, it's Pete Carroll and Mike Tomlin.
yeah,
They'll
but
figure it out.
I don't know if they're worth in that. They're great leaders, great rah guys. You know how I feel about the rah guys. What are your? This is from Jason M, longtime listener. What are your favorite prospects coming into the 2025 college football season? This is a big Barth question.
My favorite prospect. So we talked about one guy a little bit last week, and that's Jordan Tyson, the wide receiver from Arizona.
Yep, I know.
Arizona State.
You keep on trying to get me to watch him.
So first of all, not N'Keal Harry. Don't do that. I'm not doing that this year. I know he went to Arizona State. I know that's where N'Keal Harry went. Brandon Ayuk went there too. I'm not doing that. I really like Jordan Tyson. There's a couple pass rushers I like in this draft, and Dennis Sutton from Penn State. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not. I was saying to somebody the other day. I'm not really at the stage where it's like I'm having like these hard hitting draft takes. I'm kind of just that boy nice at this point. One guy I am really looking forward to watching. Oddly enough, I'm going to be a big Arizona State guy this year. Forks up. Sam Leavitt from Arizona State, their quarterback, isn't getting nearly enough attention. We've talked about this before. I'm not a big believer in Arch Manning. I'm not a big believer in Cade Klubnik. I'm not a big believer in Garrett Nussmeier. I'm not a big believer in Drew Aller. These are a lot of the top, not all, but a lot of the top-ranked quarterbacks in this draft. I think Sam Leavitt could surprise a lot of people this year. Could. He's young. You know, he's relatively raw last year. He made some plays, but the youth is apparent. But that Arizona State team, and Jordan Tyson's young too. Jordan Tyson's going to be, I think, a redshirt sophomore. So I'm really excited. There's some potentially really fun players on that team. So I don't know. I guess just Arizona State.
So I hope the Patriots aren't drafting high enough to draft Caden Proctor, but that guy's a stud.
So there's
Alabama.
But here's the thing: Francis Moigoa, I think it is, and Spencer Fano are the next two tackles in the draft, both right tackles.
Okay.
So
that's a good segue because our next.
Well,
question,
I got one more.
No, we got
Caleb Downs.
Okay, fine, but we got to go fast.
Caleb Downs.
We're already 20 minutes in. We've answered like three questions. This next question, it goes with that last point you were just making. You probably recognize this account. Boom 80517 asks.
Okay. Yeah.
Do we have a future starting right tackle on our roster at the moment? Really curious how you think they view Caden Wallace. I love this question because the answer today, as we record this on July 2nd, is no. I don't believe that they have a starting right tackle on this roster of the future. Morgan Moses is the 2025 starter, but of the future. That doesn't mean it can't be Caden Wallace. He just has to show it. Like, he hasn't proved that to me yet. So to your point, is there a world, and I know it would be somewhat unfortunate to use back-to-back first-round picks on tackles, but is there a world where Will Campbell looks the part at left tackle? We feel really good about that. So then you draft a college right tackle to play right tackle in the NFL with a high draft pick.
It's absolutely a possibility. I mean, we'll see what happens with Caden Wallace. We'll see what happens with the draft where they're picking. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that's what's going to happen. I don't know that it would be the worst thing in the world. You have your quarterback, both tackles on rookie deals. They're all growing together. Like, I'd be into that. Yeah. We'll say, but if Caden Wallace works out, great. That's one less need. Obviously, you'd rather fill it in-house. But if they have to go into the draft to get a right tackle, I wouldn't have a problem with that.
So I really think that Caden Wallace has an NFL future. I just don't know if it's a starting caliber future, and I don't know if it's at tackle. It might be a starting caliber guard. And so with Caden Wallace, I'm really curious to see him in camp. I'm going to be looking hard at Caden Wallace in training camp and hoping it works out. So that's from Boom. From Jeff, he asks, everyone uses the Cam Newton offense when describing how McDaniels will use Maye. I know Maye is a way more talented player, but could it be more like the Matt Castle offense in 2008? So I was in high school. We were in high school in 2008. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend to know the ins and outs of the scheme that they were running from Matt Castle in 2008. But I do remember that they ran Matt Castle a decent amount, comparatively speaking, obviously compared to Brady. I could see it, but I think with Drake Maye, he has so much more arm talent than Matt Castle did that there's more available that you can order on the menu with Drake Maye than with Matt Castle in the passing game. So I could maybe see where he's coming from in terms of the amount of true runs, like design runs. Like, it's not going to be Cam Newton. He's not going to run the ball 100 times like Cam did in 2020. So I could see where he's coming from, but I don't remember Matt Castle running read option. Like, I don't really think that was a big thing in the NFL to begin with back then, and I don't really remember him doing it a ton from what I watching as a fan back then. But it's not a I could see where he's coming from because maybe the skill sets are a little bit more apples to apples, where Cam was a 250-pound battering ram. Like body type wise, Drake Maye is probably a little closer to Matt Castle, even though he's more talented.
Yeah, I see where he's coming from. It's going to be its own thing.
Yeah.
I think it's really just going to be its own thing.
All right. Jason asks, what is a realistic floor or ceiling for this team in terms of wins? I feel like this is a popular question. Hype has people putting them at like 12 wins, and I just can't believe that. So what's your floor and ceiling for this team?
I mean, the ceiling, if everything goes right, Will Campbell justifies that pick. He's a Pro Bowl caliber tackle. Stephon Diggs is fully healthy. He's a 1,000-yard receiver. Duggar, Peppers, both fully healthy. They bounce back. You know, there's going to be injuries for the most part. They stay healthy. That's a core all year. Ramondre Stevenson gets back in shape.
So your ceiling?
Yeah. 12, 13 wins.
Wow, really?
If everything goes right on defense, they're a top 5 defense.
Okay, what's your floor?
5, 6 wins.
Right. So I'm with you on the floor. I could still see a world, because remember, they won 4 games last year.
Yeah.
So even if they're at like 6 or 7 wins, I know it's not the improvement that everybody wants, but depending on how it looks, like it still could be an improvement.
Well, so here's my thing. They have 10 games on their schedule that they should win.
Yeah.
That they now.
I would say their ceiling is 10 or 11.
Well, okay, but here's the thing. They have 10 on their schedule that they should win. They had 6 or 7 on their schedule last year that they should have won at this time, and they won really 3, throwing out Week 18, right? Yeah. So it goes back to what Mike Vrabel said at his introductory press conference. They need to be good enough to take advantage of bad football. If you want to talk true ceiling, best case scenario, that means winning all the games you should win and stealing 1 or 2 you probably shouldn't. That's how I get to 12.
So I'm more around 10 or 11 because I think some of those games that we think on paper right now that they should win are going to flip, and then some of the other games that we think are not wins are going to flip the other way.
So I leave room for that to net out.
So
There's
it
10
all
games.
balances out to around 10 or 11 games.
Yeah.
Me. All right.
But that's not a ceiling.
That's my ceiling.
But that's not a ceiling. Like, a ceiling is like everything best case scenario.
A ceiling is they win the Super Bowl, if we want to go that way.
I guess.
Like a realistic ceiling. I think 11 wins is asking a lot. That's almost 3 times as many wins as they won last year.
Every single thing goes their way, they can win 12 games.
Wow. I hope you're right.
Every single... Well, but it's not, because that's not how life works.
Okay. Alexander asks, what's something you want Drake Maye to get better at? Like, what's one individual thing?
Not turning the ball over.
So I'm with you.
What else did you think I was going to say?
No, now I would say, but specifically to not turning the ball over. Fumbles.
Yeah, that's a good qualifier.
The strip sacks. Like, if they can eliminate the strip sacks, you got to live with some of the picks because he's a gunslinger and you don't want to take away that aggressiveness from his game. But protecting the football, not fumbling the ball on strip sacks, like if you can just protect the football a little bit better in the pocket, I think that's going to go a long way to cutting down the overall turnover number, which is what we're really getting at here. V, he asks, this is a good one. This is my favorite one. I enjoy watching you guys have arguments about analytics. Not everybody does.
Yeah,
so
people are kind of done with that one.
So I'm glad that V enjoys it. What are your top 3 to 5 favorite metrics? Like, he's talking to me, of course. Give an explainer of them, and does Alex agree with your usage? Why or why not? Okay, so I'm not going to give a full in-depth explainer because I don't want to beat a dead horse.
EPA, DVOA, and expected something or other.
Okay, so you're 2 out of 3. I'm going to give 3. EPA.
Yeah.
Which I think is the best stat we have in football.
Yeah.
DVOA, also really good. EPA, to me, it measures better which offenses are more dangerous, like more explosive.
Yeah.
What's more volatile, like whether more explosive or more detrimental.
Well, you can only win games being explosive on offense. You definitely can't check your way up.
So to me, I look at it like it's not just explosive. It's like which offense would you fear the most?
No, it's explosive. You talked about it last week. It's explosive.
Which offense would you fear the most versus which offenses actively lose themselves points by like turning the ball over and negative plays and things like that.
So we have stats for those. They're called turnovers and negative plays.
DVOA, I love for consistency. Like, who's the most play-to-play efficient, consistent football teams?
With the secret formula.
And then my last one is QBR, which I think ESPN's QBR right now, to me, is the best quarterback metric we have.
Isn't that another secret formula one?
It might be.
Yeah, okay.
But it's the best in terms of measuring quarterback efficiency. This is production-based. This isn't Fugazi expected things that you hate. This is what did they do on the field, production-wise.
But you can't tell me exactly what it is.
No. But the thing that I like so much about QBR is that it also factors in rushing for quarterbacks, which I think if you're going to tell the full story of the quarterback in 2025, you have to include scramble yards, design runs, rushing touchdowns.
Well, look, I'll say this. I quarterback rating, not QBR, like old school quarterback rating.
Antiquated and dumb.
Is a definitive number. There's no expected. It's stupid.
Stinks.
It's random. I will stand with you. I don't like quarterback rating. Mine are points scored, points allowed, turnover margin. I'll tell you which teams are good, which teams are bad. You show me those three things. Let me do this. Point differential, turnover margin, third down conversion differential.
So I don't.
You show me those three things, I'll tell you which teams are good, which teams are bad.
I don't hate those necessarily. I love QBR. I think QBR is a great stat. I also love the fact that QBR is on a 0 to 100 scale that's based off of win probability. So, like, if you have a quarterback that has a 70 QBR,
right,
you are expected to win 70% of those games. I think that's a great way to encapsulate on-field quarterback production, actual yards and touchdowns made by your quarterback, and suffice the QB wins crowd at the same time, right? So if it was up to me, we would throw away antiquated passer rating.
I don't think anybody really uses passer rating.
I would never see passer rating in an NFL box score ever again.
Do you still see it in box scores?
And we would only be using QBR.
Because the ESPN box score uses QBR because it's their stat.
It's a better stat.
I don't need either of them.
All right, Quig asks, as the team is currently constructed and realizing rebuilding roster will take a few drafts, do you see Vrabel and company using more high-round draft picks to rebuild the O-line? So we kind of answered this question already. I could definitely see that. I think that they're going to want to build from the inside.
They're gonna make that a priority.
All right, I hear a lot of they only won 4 games last year. This is from Will. Yeah. Why is there so much comparison to last year's team when besides like 12 stars being between offense and defense, this team is drastically different? It's a fair point. I think the reason why there's so much comparison is just it does happen that one or two teams a year go from worst to first. We know that.
Right.
The Patriots are definitely possibly could do that, but there's also the opposite, which is like a cyclical level of losing where you see the same, the Jaguars, the Browns, the Titans. Like these teams have been drafting in the top 5, it feels like, for like 10 years, right?
Yeah.
Maybe not the Titans because, if Vrabel was there, but recently with the Titans. So I think that's, the difference there, but it's a fair point. I don't really have a great rebuttal to that. I think it's a different team. There's no doubt about that. Colin, he asks, what are 3 things you're most excited to watch in training camp?
3 things. Well, we kind of talked about Drake Maye.
Mm-hmm.
See the defensive scheme, and I guess I don't know how much we'll see of Diggs, but see where Diggs is at.
Yeah, I agree with that. Drake Maye, I would say it's hard with the offensive line and defensive lines, but Drake Maye, whoever goes up against Christian Gonzalez, can any receiver beat Christian Gonzalez consistently in training camp? Because then I might feel good about that receiver. Like if it's Kayshon Boutte, if it's Kyle Williams, if it's Stephon Diggs, if that is like a true toe-to-toe, iron sharpening iron type of matchup, I'll be excited about that. And the offensive line, Drake Maye, receiver, offensive line. Shocker. Who will be this is from Sasha. Who will be the starting left guard to open camp? I'm saying Cole Strange.
I'm saying Cole Strange.
From Tim, do you think the Patriots offense will have a better year than the Dolphins offense?
Yes.
I'm going to say no. I still think the Dolphins have too much skill talent. Like Hill, Waddle, they're running backs.
Tua's not going to play the full season. The line's bad. The Dolphins offense will have higher highs. Over the course of 17 games, which unit will be better? The Patriots.
I think the Dolphins' offense with Tua is still going to be a really good offense.
How many games are they going to have Tua?
10.
The Dolphins'
that seems to be the number all the time.
Who averages more points per game? Well, it'll be the Dolphins because they'll have one game where they'll randomly score 50.
I don't know. Probably. Dolphins are going to have games where they're going to be like they were last year when they played the Patriots. Like they're going to have games where they're a hot knife through butter.
They're also going to have games where they can't. It'll be cold. They'll be playing a team over 500. They'll struggle to put up 14 points.
Fair enough. You're probably right. They'll be more.
The Dolphins' offense is much more volatile, and I appreciate consistency.
There you go.
So I'll take the Patriots.
Drew asks, Christian Gonzalez took the leap last year to All-Pro caliber player. Who do you think will be the player to make that jump this year?
Wait, say that again.
Who do you think the player would make the jump this year, like a Christian Gonzalez-esque jump? Like Gonzalez went from good rookie to All-Pro.
Keon White. I just think this defense suits him so well. It's such a great spot for him. It's a good coaching staff for him. there's going to be a lot of attention in the middle to Milton Williams and Christian Barmore. It's going to free him up. Will he be at the level that Gonzalez is relative to position? I don't know about that. But, could Keon White flirt with double-digit sacks this year? I could see it.
Keon White's the right answer. It's a good answer. I don't know if all pro's not going to happen. So
I don't know that he's going to do it again.
Well, I'm saying that about my answer, but
okay.
I think it's the same thing.
So yeah, I don't know that he'll do it to the extent that Christian Gonzalez did, but he could. I think he'll go to another level.
Is there another level for Demario Douglas?
Yeah, he's just already pretty good.
That one stands out to me. Just slot receiver.
I was
with
tempted.
McDaniels.
I was thinking about saying Demario Douglas.
I know there's still some trade chatter out there from our colleagues on the beat. I saw Greg Bedard said that he was one of the guys he listed as potential trades out of that wide receiver.
I don't love that.
I just don't see that. I don't see it. I'm not saying that the reporting's wrong.
No,
I know. I just don't see it from a
that's a guy I would
perspective.
hold on to. I think he's a good player.
This is a cool question from Elliot. Who is your favorite Patriot player that didn't get enough recognition? He says his is Kyle Van Noy.
That's a good one.
Yours is Larry Centers.
But Larry Centers,
you would think Larry Centers should be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, but by the time he got to the Patriots, that was the end. I'm somebody who didn't get enough credit with the Patriots. Where do I start? The guy that I've always said that they've been chasing this guy since he left, Adrian Waddle. Adrian Waddle was a true swing tackle at a time they needed one.
Answer.
They've been fighting tackle injuries since he left.
No disrespect, but Adrian Waddle is your answer.
How many times has this team needed a serviceable swing tackle in the last 5 years? And he wasn't here. Now, I think he had a career-ending injury after he left, so he's not playing anymore. But I remember saying to you that next year when he left, we were talking in the locker room and saying, they miss Adrian Waddle. And you were like, that's crazy, but it's true. I don't know why he's the first name who came to mind. There's probably a better answer. Martellus Bennett would be one. Super underrated Patriot. Loved having him here. But because I was just talking to somebody about this the other day. They sneaky missed Adrian Waddle when they moved on from him. I bet I can think of some other ones.
So my biggest one, I don't know if he didn't get enough recognition, but I don't think he got as much hype, was Trey Flowers. Trey Flowers at his peak with the Patriots was a darn good pass rusher.
Yep.
He was really good. He was versatile, rush out on the edge. He could rush over the center. He was like dynamite rushing over centers.
Made me think of a couple, and maybe it's just because this defense was so loaded. There were so many dudes on that defense. Alan Branch was a really good player. And he was playing next to Vince, and he kind of came here late in his career, so I get why he was kind of...
Akeem Hicks were kind of like ones that got away a little bit, especially Hicks.
Well, Hicks went on
to have
but
a
that was
really
a
good
scheme change. Alan Branch came here when people thought his career was over.
Yeah, wasn't Uncle Phil his nickname?
Yeah, because he looks like him. He kind of turned around. And then also from that defense, Kyle Arrington. Because he got followed by Jonathan Jones, who's obviously been this incredible Patriot. But Kyle Arrington was good. I'm trying to think back to the earlier teams.
Earlier teams, not a lot of not that they shouldn't have, but a lot of those early Patriots teams, all those guys got love.
I know,
which they should have. I'm not saying they shouldn't have.
I mean, I don't know, Roman Pfeiffer.
So what was I watching? Maybe it was just on Twitter. And then we got to move on from this question. But
no, we should do the rest of the show on this.
They were naming. It was one of the early 2000s defenses, 2001, 03, or 04. And they just, I think it was 04 because I think Vince was already on the team.
Yeah, so it would have been 04.
Seymour, Wilfork, Warren.
Yeah.
And then when they got, and I was like, okay, it's stacked D-line. Then they get to the linebackers, and they go Willie McGinnis, USC, Teddy Bruschi, Arizona, Roman Pfeiffer, Mike Vrabel. And I was just like, holy crap. How is this not talked about as one of the best linebacker rooms of the 2000s?
So,
this is insane.
It's kind of similar. I'll just bring this up because we're in this conversation. I'm working on something with Matt Dolph over at the Sports Hub. It actually might be up by the time people see this. We haven't recorded it yet, but again, we're recording this show early. We kind of want to do an all Sports Hub Patriots team. So the Sports Hub started in 2009. So, but I want to do it as a 53-man roster projection. So maybe not the 53 best players, but build out the roster. Here's who I have to choose from at corner. This is just since 2009.
Okay, hurry up because we're trying to keep this shorter.
Steph Gilmore, Malcolm Butler, Jonathan Jones, J.C. Jackson, Christian Gonzalez, Aqib Talib, Darrell Revis, Jason McCourty, Kyle Arrington, Jonathan Jones.
It's a tough group.
That's insane.
So we're talking two. You're taking two?
Well, no, it's going to be we're going to build a 53-man
roster. Oh, so you could have as many as 5.
So, we'll probably have 2 boundary guys, 2 slot guys, and then a tweener. So, Gilmore's obviously on.
I think Gilmore, Revis, Talib, Law have to be on. Or is Law?
It's all sports hubs. So 2009.
Okay. So I think those three.
Those are the four. But like here's the thing: how do you weigh 1 year of Darrelle Revis versus like Jonathan Jones was here for a decade and was really good?
Well, Jonathan Jones might be your slot corner.
That's true.
Revis
or
got to be on the team.
1 year of Revis versus 4 years of Malcolm Butler, who also had the pick in Super Bowl 49. Me and Matt are going to do this on a podcast, but what an insane run! Like Christian Gonzalez at the bottom of this list.
Yeah,
he's the last guy I put on there. He's an All-Pro. Insane run.
Okay, so moving on. Rick asks, currently I see the Patriots' top 5 wide receivers as Diggs, Pop, Booty, Williams, Bourne. To me, Diggs and Williams are the only locks. My question is, do you trade Bourne to give Polk Baker more reps in preseason to see what they can do? So basically, do you trade Kendrick Bourne?
I wouldn't. I also don't. If you want those two guys to get reps, you can give them reps. I don't think you need to trade anybody. These people forget how long these preseason games are.
Yeah.
Like, you can get them reps. I wouldn't trade Kendrick Bourne unless it's in, like we talked about last week, one of those deals where, all right, Terry McLaurin for a second and Bourne, right? I would do that. But I'm not rushing Kendrick Bourne out the door. He has chemistry with Drake Maye. He has experience in Josh McDaniels' offense. He's another year removed from that torn ACL, so I think he's going to move a little bit better. I wouldn't rush him out the door. And he's more proven, and they need some proven commodities, even if it's not proven at a high level. They need some guys who you kind of just know what you're getting out of. And that's definitely not Polk and Baker.
Yeah, that's fair. All right. Tammy asks, who hits 650 yards from scrimmage first, TreVeyon Henderson or Kyle Williams?
Henderson.
I'm going Henderson as well. I think
that's not really fair.
No,
because he's a running back.
Totally
it's
different. Because Henderson, you can force feed the ball. Kyle Williams has to get open and catch the ball.
Yeah, that's
very different.
Nothing against Kyle Williams, but that's not. It's not the same.
All right. Rick asks, after free agency in the draft, which position group still is in need of a talent upgrade? So my answer to this question is different. Like, talent upgrade versus which position am I most concerned about, I think are two different things. Because I don't think you need the Zach Martin of left guards. Like, I don't think you need a stud at left guard.
Yeah.
But if I had to say what the biggest hole on the team is right now, it's probably left guard, just in terms of starting caliber player. But the area where I feel like they're the most talent deficient might be a little bit different than that. I would say talent deficient, I would more lean towards either receiver or edge rusher.
Yeah, I'm with you.
But in terms of where I think the biggest hole is, it's still left guard, still the interior offensive line.
I agree.
Quig asks, could the Patriots take a flyer on Zadarius Smith, Gabe Davis, or Will Hernandez if they get the veteran minimum? Will Hernandez is a guard, played a little bit in the league, was drafted by the Giants. Zadarius Smith, I could see it, but like you already have Harold Landry and Chazon. Like those are kind of your veteran edge rushers. I don't know if you need a third one of those types of guys on the team. So if I had to guess out of those three, I would say Will Hernandez or just, we talked about Sheriff last week on the show.
I will
like one
say,
of those guards.
Smith had 9 sacks last year still. And I think he has some, between the Packers and Vikings, he must have some overlap with the current. And Mike Vrabel. He was with Mike Vrabel in Cleveland for part of last year. I wouldn't hate Zadarius Smith. Again, you're creating a little bit of a logjam. That might not be the worst thing in the world for how they're set up right now, especially if they're planning on moving on from Anthony Jennings.
Yeah, I could see that. All right, last one here. This is from Matt. How do you think all the offensive minds in the room mesh? So I'm thinking he's talking about the coaching staff.
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys from different backgrounds. How do I think that they're going to mesh? Josh McDaniels is in charge. That's how I think they're going to mesh. As much as I want to have an open mind and have McDaniels have an open mind and hear out other people and bring in other ideas and bring in fresh concepts. At the end of the day, the way that you mesh is that you recognize as a positional coach that the buck stops with the offensive coordinator. And I think that the onus is on everybody for that. But I would say that there's some onus on the positional coaches. Like don't overstep. Like don't get too big for your bridges. You are the quarterback's coach. You're the tight ends coach. You're the receivers coach. Just do your job, and I think everything will be fine. But that's not to say live in an echo chamber, right? Like you want those other ideas. But if you ask me how they mesh by realizing that Josh McDaniels is the guy in charge.
Yeah,
There we go. So we did pretty good there. That was pretty rapid fire.
Yeah.
Right around 40 minutes. So that's the show for this week. Sorry that's a little bit shorter, but I have some big things going on. So I think I have a pretty good excuse. But Alex and I will be back on the 23rd, the first day of training camp. I can't believe I'm saying that. That's
crazy.
absolutely crazy. So we'll be back on Catch 22 live on Wednesday, the 23rd of July for the very first day of Patriots training camp. So thanks so much for watching and listening, as you guys always do. Big thanks to all the mailbag questions as well. Hopefully we got to all of them, and we'll see you guys in a few weeks. Thanks for watching.
Hey, this is Deuce. Thanks for tuning into the show. If you really want to help us, make sure you like us wherever you get your podcasts, like Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Also, make sure you follow us on the New England Patriots YouTube channel to see this show and everything else that we do here at the Patriots. Thanks a lot.